Get ready and strap in for the One Love HTX show, where all our conversations are always raw, unfiltered, and never staged. We can also be found on Instagram, all major streaming platforms, and westcliff.org. Check us out at onelovehtx.org for more info or ways to support the show. Now get ready to dive into conversations you won't always have in church with your hosts, Joshua Duffy and Daniel Salsi.
Hey, you have no idea. We've been lost at sea for 3 months, but we're back.
Show is brought to you by Verizon Wireless. Internet.
Goodness. So, but we're a day early, so it's okay. And we're going live because Josh has been on sabbatical, a.k.a. Duffy. I like to call him Duffy. It's cool.
Yeah.
Not that Josh is bad.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So he's been on sabbatical for 3 months. Some of you have known that. If you didn't know that, we're back live in the studio here, and we're so excited to be back here for multiple reasons. But just thank you for waiting on us. Thank you for continuing to watch. We noticed that even as we were away, we were releasing just as random ones. That, people were tuning in and catching old episodes too, which was really great.
Very cool.
So thank you for that. So here's where we're at right now. First off, I just want to recap real quick because we had a Whosoever One Love HTX event just this past couple of weekends ago. Austin Carlisle from Of Mice and Men came out. Tom Gillis came out. Lucas from the Whosoevers came out. We had some skate parks. We had a church in Galveston. We gave away thousands of dollars in prizes and cash to these kids and got to share stories of hope from these guys of how God has rocked their worlds. And we just keep having stories coming in from these events, and that's what we try to do. Just do community events and outreach, having fun with music. Relent played, which was an incredible hard rock band. But the stories we have coming in of people that are like, I haven't experienced God like this before. It's always been so stiff and hard and get right before you even talk to me. And it's like, you guys didn't present that. It was like, come as you are, truly.
Cool.
So, really cool stories. We'll share those as we go, but something happened beyond that. So as you're gone...
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Sorry. We're like the two randos.
Right.
I guess they'll tell if I ever get the topic. Did I see a picture of Tom jumping over like 4 skateboards?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He can ride. I've stopped riding in the bowls like that at my age. We'll just say at my age.
Yeah.
He's close to my age-ish. But the dude still rips. I mean, he rips it out there.
I could not believe that.
Yeah.
That picture.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, Tom's an animal. There's a lot more other stories there about him, but we'll just say thank goodness he loves Jesus.
Take it away, good sir.
Okay. So here we are. I again, as every episode is, Duffy just really doesn't know what's coming, and that's okay.
I tried to find out.
He might get a topic. He might get just like a hint. But this one, I go, no, I'm not doing it. Because
I tried to ask. I tried to type in the title. And I'm like, so what's it called? And he just smiled. And I said, so you don't want to tell me what we're talking about? And he said, no. So there we go.
Just welcome back. But here's the cool part, because as I've had even 3 months to kind of kick back and think about things, I've had topics come up that have come up in my quiet time, like, oh, we got to hit on that one. We got to hit on this one. I've had conversations with people. But this particular topic came on Sunday morning, and I'll tell you the backstory. Some of you may not know how this podcast kind of happened. And I think that's going to be important if you haven't listened to episode 1. And I don't even think episode 1 gets into it fully. But here's kind of just the quick rundown. I did a massive Whosoevers event, or I went to a massive Whosoevers event in Arkansas. Met a bunch of different people. Brian Head Welch kind of brought me into the fold of that really opened my eyes and my heart to what the Whosoevers do, or what, how they go out and do it, and sparked this whole bringing it to Houston even more. And then One Love HTX was born through that. And with that, one of the pastors that I met out in the Arkansas area kind of connected Duffy and I and just said, we call him PGs, Pastor Greg. Greg Bears from, what's the church name?
Lake Point.
Lake Point, yeah, out in the Hot Springs area. Great guy. We yucked it up out there, had a good time, and then he was like, you know what, you need to meet my friend in Houston, Joshua Duffy. And I was like, yeah, sure, that's cool. So we met for coffee and Danishes and maybe kolaches or something cool, and just sat around talking, and we laughed and had a good time, and just, it was just a great conversation, a great meeting. I didn't think, no agenda, no nothing going on. And then Duffy looked at me and said, hey, man, do you have a podcast? And I was like, okay, you're like the 50th person or more that has asked me that question. And I think it's just so rando. One, I just met you. We're just having coffee, bro. And you're asking me this, but now it's like really bothering me. And from there, he was like, well, if you want to do one, I can teach you how to do it. I have a bag. I can just hand it to you. And, all of a sudden history's kind of made. I said, I can't do it on my own. If you would walk me through at least one episode, show me how it's done. Let's just kind of see it. And if it goes somewhere, great. If it doesn't, no big deal, no harm, no foul. You go back to your life. I'll go back to mine, or I'll continue this. And it exploded. That's just the easiest way I can say it. It exploded. The connection, the chemistry between us two, and just being able to sit here and have conversation just was crazy. And One Love HTX, the podcast, was born. It's not mine. It's not Duffy's. It's ours. And most importantly, it's God's. It's just what he's doing. Every time we get together, I think we're constantly baffled. So that being said, and the reason for that was because I realized in a year and a half, as much as I love this man, as much as we spend time together, I've never sat in your church.
Huh.
And I know obviously it didn't bother him. It's like, I go to church, I go to rando churches constantly. I'm always we have so many friends, and that's what ministry kind of does, is you just kind of go places. Yeah. And I realized my wife kept saying, I've asked you several times, why haven't we gone to Duffy's church? And I'm like, you're right, we need to go. So we found out when he was coming back this past Sunday, and we came to this church at Pilgrim Lutheran. And I've watched it online, don't get me wrong. But I've never sat in this building on a Sunday. And I got to tell you, it was the most authentic, peaceful, serene. I think I'm just so many words I can put in there of an experience here, because it's Lutheran. I grew up Baptist and I ran from Baptist. Not that Baptist is bad, but I became more just, it's relational. I don't want to have a title on a church that I go to, but I got to tell you, and I'm just going to tell you from my heart, sitting here on Sunday, there was traditional that usually freaks me out that did not. It was absolutely beautiful. There was a reverence to the traditional hymns. There was a reverence to the experience of the way y'all do it, the way Lutheran has their, I don't know what you call it, but
I don't either.
Their things.
Yeah.
And I guess also knowing your heart, and I say this because there's a lot of you out there that get to hear his heart every single podcast. That same heart there is the same heart here. And the mixture of that traditional hymns and also contemporary that you've mixed into it with some of the music, the acoustic guitars and the singers and everything, was just a phenomenal experience. And then you gave your message. As I've heard online, it was way different in person. It was truly your brain. The way your brain works, and what I love so much about this podcast, is the same thing on Sunday. You bring ideas and thoughts that challenge the heart, that challenge the person sitting in these pews, to just go beyond your normal reading or your normal understanding, but to go deeper. And so with that, I realized I need to mention Pilgrim more. because this is, I want to be here on Sunday more, and so does Lynette, but I think it's important that we know with the following that we have, especially in the Houston area, that this church is accessible to everyone. And it's here, right here in our own backyard in Houston at 6300? 8601 Chimney Rock, right? So, and here's the next part, is me. I told you this before, whenever I started going back to church, I tested the churches. And this is an unassuming church as you pass by because it's an older looking building, but Duffy's in here, and not only Duffy, but it's Duffy's heart, and that heart follows through the congregation, because when I look at this church from the outside, I'm thinking, oh, if I go in there with long hair and my tattoos blazing, this is not going to be a good experience. And I didn't put on what I normally would do back in the olden days to test a church.
The trench coat.
Yeah. But I was like, I'm not gonna change. I'm just gonna be me. I'm gonna go. And I came in a Psycho Bunny t-shirt, and a Psycho Bunny collared shirt with, my hair down, and just casual shorts. And I got to tell you, every single person in here, from, I would say you probably have, if I have met in there, was probably upwards of 80 years old, was the oldest or more, down to young 20s.
Yeah.
Every single person had some kind of connection, eye contact, handshake, welcome, that was so overwhelmingly loving here. So that culture, whatever you've created here, or God has created with you, however you want to say it, is amazing. And so if you're looking for a church, listen, this is the place to come and hang out and get the same thing you're loving here on the podcast, even deeper and further with Duffy and the church. And my wife, as she's looking through that, she's like, there's a lot of things on here that I would attend weekly. And I'm like, well, there you go.
Wow.
Get busy.
Wow, that is very humble.
So now the topic. It's not just a welcome back. So as I thought about this, and
I'm waiting for the hammer.
I'm sitting in the pew and I'm like, this is amazing. But what hit me was, you took 3 months off. Okay? I was in the corporate world, and I understand vacation time. I think the most I ever got was 3 weeks paid vacation. There's this culture in church that they highly suggest sabbaticals, and they're typically about 3 months, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Rest. It just hit me like it's so important for us.
Yeah.
Whether you're in the ministry or not, whether you own your own business or work for somebody else, rest is important, and God speaks highly about it. But I wanted to just get your heart, because, and you don't have to go here, but I think it's important for our viewers to understand your heart on your sabbatical. Is there anything that you want to share about rest and your time away that would speak to people's hearts?
So the first thing that hit me was, and maybe those of you listening can relate to this, is I was going at a pace and living under a level of stress and trying to meet deadlines. And a good percentage of it, I realized I superficially created. So I was running in a world where I'm like, I don't have time for this. I got to do this. I got to do that. I got to get this done. And it's like, once I stopped, I realized no one's making me do something that really might take 6 months, and I'm trying to get it done in 4 weeks. I've created that. Or the stress and the pressure of, well, we got to make this decision. No, we actually don't. And I think, so I just want to speak to maybe first just the benefits of it. The stopping for a while gave me perspective and a wonderful reminder that this is God's church, and God will do whatever he good and well pleases to do with it, when he wants to do what he wants to do with it. And I think that was a beautiful part of just kind of pulling back. And every day I read scripture, and journaled. And my prayers, I just would write those out, and I would march through Psalms. And for every day on the calendar, I read a Psalm that correlated with that. So it was the first of the month, I'm reading Psalm 1, and I'd go all the way through, and then I'd start over. I wanted to keep going back to the same Psalms. And that was also just a real blessing to just get to stop, unplug, unwind, and maybe a certain percentage of things in my particular ministry, as you know, Daniel, like I dealt with a good amount of death and some stresses and pressures. And I think it helped me to put they're in a chapter in my life. Those things are those things, but it's almost like it allowed me to maybe kind of heal from a certain number of things. It was very, very nice. And then with my family was just really getting to hit the reset button between me and our 3 children. We were 4, 7, and 9, and them just
so cute too.
Getting to have dad with them all day, every day. And what do you want to do today? You want to play trains? Well, I got nothing else to do. Sounds good, and just go all in on being present with them all day. Things around our house were neglected. And I made 8 trips to the Goodwill and about 7 to a dumpster, because we had carried stuff from every state from education that I went through, and we just needed to declutter our lives too. So there was like practical side to it, but then just even with my wife and I, just getting to spend uninterrupted time. And you know what was beautiful? I was never like, I need to get away from these people. Like, it never felt like that. And that was also very reassuring for me and my family and for all of our connections to be like, oh, wow, it's that healthy. And then finally is just now coming back into this. Those are some of the lessons. God is going to resource what he's going to resource here in his good timing. The people that I have here, and you just talked about it, the people that I have here, the people he's entrusted for me to love and shepherd and lead and serve. And everything doesn't have to be built overnight. In fact, it's begun to occur to me that maybe the vision that I think God may be granting me may be for the next guy. And I don't know. And that's because he's God and I'm not. And there's a lot of freedom in that I just get to be here, be present, do this with you, enjoy life as it's coming to me, and have the chance to just exhale. And so, yeah, there were some things that I hope, there's some patterns that I hope I broke. I was on social media for 3 months, and it was fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Because that'll drive you mad,
yeah.
Social media. So
that's a bold statement to say with a smile. But I'm okay with what I'm doing here, maybe for the next guy. You don't know.
I don't know.
Like, to smile and say that, most people wouldn't. They'd be like, what about me? So I love that about you.
Well,
you
and
know?
for me,
I don't think that's going to be it, but to say it,
what I've come to realize is I want to be healthy. Yeah. And I want my children to be healthy, and I want my family to be healthy. And I want to be the best pastor that I can be. But so often pastors end up in these bizarre battles with their congregations. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's because maybe the congregation is not biblical. Maybe they do stab each other in the back, and maybe they are toxic. Well, okay, then you may have to hook it on that way as a leader. But sometimes it's just all about the pastor's insecurities, the pastor's desire for his personal brand to be bigger than what it is. And he's really just treating it like a business or a company. And so I kind of look at it more and more like, okay, you got it. And I just want to be the best, healthiest version of me. Because when I really thought about it, with every funeral I've ever done and anybody I've ever worked with that passed away, and I'm going to, talking to family members and friends and getting those, the message pulled together, no one talks about someone's accomplishments. They get like 3 lines in the obituary, Everything is about the intangibles of hanging out and the random things that we all remember of the people that we love. It's hardly ever like what they accomplished. Right. It's, these just very cool personal things. And so I think contentment typically eludes us, and I'm not saying that right around the corner may not be another challenge or stress or pressure, but I think those were the things that he let me see, and I'm thankful for it.
And you mentioned too, I remember in our time together through this year and a half, that Pilgrim got an unexpected reset because of COVID, which I think happened to a lot of churches. And now you're running at a totally different form, I guess, the way it was before. So now it's about coming. That had to hurt, just from any human standpoint, to see things change like that and try to figure out what's happening. But now to have a reset yourself and to just trust that God's doing what He's going to do.
Well, let me just say, like, our backstory was prior to COVID. Like, we probably had 150 more people here. And as I changed things, hence contemporary worship, like you mentioned, everything else, what you would see is people that were unhappy, they would sit closer and closer to the back of the church. And you could literally follow where they're seated. And so by week 7, their arms are crossed and they're in the back and they're just scowling. They just showed up here to make it uncomfortable, And then eventually they would leave, and I would go through this whole stress about, I would see attendance dropping, and well, do I go and say this in church? Because then attendance is going to keep dying. And everyone's wondering where's Sally or Bill? We love them. And you can't say, well, Sally and Bill were toxic. You have to be like, I don't know, it's too bad, isn't it? And so eventually, though, I think the freedom then comes that whether there's 10 or 10,000, that you're going to do what was put in you to do, what God put in you. Like we both love music, and my favorite artists ever are the people who approach their craft like they never expected to be famous. And they're going to play with as much passion and sing with as much passion, whether there's 8 or 8,000 or 80,000. That's just what they do. And they don't care who's paying attention or not. And I think whenever a person gets to that point, and there's a few that come to mind that I always love, that it's like they didn't care if they played a small room or a big room. One of my rock, heroes was Chris Cornell. And I had seen him in big venues and very small venues. And you could tell it didn't matter to him. I love that. I love it when artists are that way. And I think there's a lot of freedom then that now I get to be mentally and emotionally present with whoever's here. And whatever happens, I can be present with whoever's here because they're here to hear something and they're needing something, and God has something for them. And however many people that is, so be it.
Right. Man, I love. Okay, so here's the funny part of just not even scripting, and this is so cool. So I hope this encourages you because
this is an interview, isn't it?
No. I mean, we're experiencing the same things because that is who God is. God, I think, not in a harsh way, but in a loving way, we get our feathers ruffled if we're willing to walk with Him, out of our flesh. And so this past weekend with the Whosos, where we did the events, that skate park, the first skate park event in North Houston, was supposed to be about 400 or 500 people showing up easily. Like she was like, based on your last one and these back to school ones, we're going to have probably 400 or 500 people there. And so we decided to start at 4 o'clock, kind of get it rolling, and at 6 o'clock we start getting into everything, the contests and the concerts. And it was scary. Not only was it hot, and they came over to us about 5:30, and they go, "We forgot to tell you that because of this heat and the way it's been so bad, people aren't really showing up anymore till maybe 6:30 or 7." And we're like, "We don't do this thing." Like, you're telling me now that people aren't showing up in the masses they used to? So I'm freaking out, and I'm starting to roll into the flesh of numbers. The numbers, because I come from a corporate background, planning. Right. So that kicked in, and it was terrifying. The heat was unbearable. We're almost dying out there. We're trying to run a skate contest. By the time 6:30 rolls around, we implement the skate contest. There's probably 100 people there, if that. This band that we brought in is supposed to be playing by 7:30 or 8, and it's just not the numbers. But what began to happen in the hearts of the ones we were connecting with was incredible. Like it was worth everything. Granted, I didn't see that just yet. So we finished up Saturday. Sunday we rolled over to Galveston, right? And we had a festival set up on this one. Food trucks, Jeeps, motorcycle clubs, vendors, everything, a parking lot full, a church involved. We're supposed to have free hot dogs. I mean, it's just like, this one's going to be okay. We'll do the skate contest over at the skate park. It's what Galveston typically brings. It was fantastic. And I'm rolling up, 4 o'clock, the festival is going to start. And it was, I swear I saw a tumbleweed. And I'm like, it's just because it's hot. They're going to come. They're going to come. We had 2 artists cancel on us because they got sick. They were supposed to open up before we went. We had vendors dropping off like flies because of the heat. 0 food trucks showed up. I know, if you could see Duffy's eyes right now, that's the way my eyes were. And so here we are in this situation, and I'm looking at the people, and like this church should have been standing room only, and there were tons of seats available. And I went to the back, and I went to go talk to my people, my guys, the Whosos, my One Love HTX crew, and I just began to weep. I began to weep because it wasn't what I envisioned, and there was no one there. Well, there was people, but there wasn't what I thought should be there.
Yeah.
Because when we do events, it was typically 400 or 500, no problem.
Yeah.
And we did advertising even better than we did before, so it should have been amazing.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. And I began to weep, and the guys began to pray over me. And in that moment, God said, if I showed you one, would that be enough? And I immediately had this peace, like, you're right. It's not about numbers. My flesh got involved. I'm just going to continue doing what you called us to do. You've orchestrated all of this. We don't move unless you show us through prayer on the events that we do. And I got to trust you, Lord. And so we went out there. I kind of gave that little speech to everyone. And what hit me was I got this picture in my head of the 99 and the 1. If you know that story.
Yeah.
And I just saw a bunch of ones. Like every shepherd's, but although there's one Jesus, one shepherd, but that's what I saw, a fleshly standpoint. Like all these shepherds that lost their one was there. That's what I saw. Like who I want here is who I have here. No commotion, no thousands, no hundreds, just enough, just the people I want. And I'm telling you, when I finally reached that point, what happened was insane. The stories that came back. And that's, as I walk into your church right now, as I see the things that have gone on and hear what's happened to the past, in my experience, I'm like, this church right now, you're right, is exactly where God has it to be. And he's touching the hearts just like he did there. We keep hearing stories. I walked away going, wow, who you touched and how you touched. And the emails and stuff are coming. It's like, wow, this is insane.
Wow.
We had more connection than we did when we had thousands.
Wow.
And the power that God moved in. Not to say he couldn't do it with that either.
Sure.
But what a comfort to know, as you walk into a church that I'm used to walking into, what I guess they call mega churches.
Yeah.
That I'm tired of, again, I'm not saying their hearts are wrong, but I'm tired of the lights and the smoke and the programs. And I just want more Jesus.
Yeah.
Like I want more relationship. I want to sit more with Daddy, and that's what I felt when I was here.
Wow, that's
cool. And I'm sure every person that sat in here this past Sunday, and I'm sure every Sunday before that and every Sunday after that, is feeling that right now.
Wow, that's cool.
So I say all that because I think you need to know, especially people here in Houston, like this, come visit this place. This is just amazing. And I can't wait to get back in here. And yes, I whipped myself and kicked myself for not doing it sooner because we were friends. I was like, Josh doesn't mind, and he never bugged me. He never said.
I was never going to ask.
Yeah, well, when are you going to come to my church? He wasn't like that. He was just like, Daniel does his thing, and we're friends, and we got a podcast, and God's doing stuff through this. And,
I'll let it ride.
But I'm telling you, wow, the power and the comfort and the joy and the peace here was amazing. That even my youngest daughter who missed it was like really upset this morning. She was like,
Wow.
I heard what Raven said, and okay, y'all have to let me know when you're going again because I'm in.
Considering that this all started with me just, going to give you a bag about a year ago. That was really my intent. I have a bag. Here's the bag. I'll set it up for you once.
That is how it happened. I love it.
But, you touch on something about that dynamic. It's like sometimes I think the church thinks that the story of Jesus ends at the feeding of 5,000. Like that's the high point. And so how do we do today, Pastor Bill, Pastor Ted, or Pastor John? Oh, we fed 5,000 today. We're going to feed 5,000 next week? Sure are. Next month, how are we doing? We fed 5,000. And it's almost like that's the apex. And yet we forget that like within a chapter, Jesus offends almost all of them. And he's back down to basically just a group of guys in a boat, And the real point is, what does it look like to follow him all the way to the cross?
Right.
And that's not a popular place to be seen or to be. And like you said, there are really big churches out there who are doing it well and doing it right. But at the same time, it's just about faithfulness. Yeah. And that's a crazy story for you over the weekend.
Yeah, it's nuts. Again, it's like
soul tumbleweed.
Oh my God, that would have been a great joke for someone to throw a tumbleweed out there. That would have been like, I know. So wonderful.
Gold, man.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's my story. I'm sticking to it. This is truly a place and a wonderful place to come visit if you're here in the Houston area, looking for a church home. And let me tell you too, if you're gonna ever say, because I've done this before, well, it's so far. Listen, anywhere you go shopping in Houston is far. So this is not far. I've used that excuse. If you want to come experience and just be blown away with a peace and a heart, come. So
very cool.
That being said,
thank you.
Yes.
Praise God.
Thank you. Welcome back. I'm so happy to have you back. We've got some great topics coming up that you know nothing about that are going to be amazing.
I think Daniel's just shooting for the podcast where he lays a topic on me and it's just dead silent. And inside he's like, got him. There it is.
No, after again, and experiencing Sunday too, when you talked about David, I was like, and let me just put it there, because this is like that. What I love about our podcast is these things you don't typically think about. But that was the question he poses: what's the difference between Saul and David? Like they were both like, some rotten dudes and the things they've done. Well, why was one picked and the other one?
Yeah.
It's just so. I love it. Cool. I absolutely love it. So
cool.
That being said, please, if you have an opportunity and you haven't watched the YouTube channel, maybe you're listening right now, go on the YouTube channel, subscribe, share it with other people, get the word out. There's just going to be a lot more things coming down the pipeline, a lot more interviews. I met a man over the weekend that I cannot wait to have. We're going to start having more of our listeners and non-listeners, just people that we meet, rando people on here through interviewing that have powerful stories.
Love it.
Yeah,
Love it.
Lots of stuff going on. So thank you. Go to the website, onelovehtx.org. We're about to list these shirts on there. If you can see them, these are our new shirts. We're going to put those on there for you, and continue to check out Westcliff Climb.
Westcliff Climb is the podcast, and then westcliff.org.
Yep. So tons of connections, tons of wonderful information.
And the young people, I think, say smash that subscribe button.
Smash! There you go. Smash the subscribe button. How's that?
That's it. That was fantastic.
I said subscribe. We love you guys. Thanks for listening. Thank you for having us back. We're so excited to be back, and we've got more stuff coming your way. Talk to you later.
Later.